Okay, continuing on with the second feature of the evening. We left off where we found the sodomites engaged in sex in the driveway next door. Truly disgusting spectacle. I went ahead and filed that police report that evening and followed it up downtown. The son and daughter of the state police officer refused to disclose the identity of these two individuals. And after attempts were made to try to get them to do so, we looked at the license plates of the car. We couldn't make it out because of the darkness. It was about that time I decided to once again contact the owner of the home next door. That is the rental property, and it's a Mr. Sukhdev Singh, who is from India. Currently, he's out of the state, and public records show that there are tax liens against him. I went to the assessor's website and found that. But we did contact him by registered mail. I have the letter here and the receipt for the registered letter that was sent to him. And it was sent on 7 March 2006. I strongly protested the nuisance activities going on next door and appealed to his better nature to try to get him to try to gain control over them. We attempted to contact him by telephone too, to no avail. Wouldn't return our calls. He failed utterly to respond and address our complaints. No apologies have been forthcoming from either him or the former residents next door. Okay, and about that time, on about March the 21st, 2006, I decided to appear before the Suisun City Council and the Suisun City Mayor and try a little bit of diplomacy by thanking them for their enactment of the Title 8 and Title 9 codes that the city has. And if you're not familiar with them, those are the ones where they have written that, quote, the control of large parties, gatherings, events on private property is necessary when such continued activity is determined to be a threat to peace, health, and safety or general welfare of the public. I'd say with the confirmed pattern of conduct that we saw next door, there's no question about it that it is a threat to peace, it is a threat to health, it is a threat to public safety and our general welfare. Continuing item B of that section 9, these large parties, gatherings, or events often pose a threat to the peace, health, safety, and general welfare of the public. That's been determined. This is common sense. Item C, frequently police officers have been required to make return calls, okay? So this is a situation that they were fully aware of long before the events between 2005 and 2008. The continual return of police officers to a location constitutes a drain of manpower and tax resources, often leaving other areas of the city with reduced police protection. So they realize that this sort of activity, unabated, drains your tax dollars. If you pay taxes and you're trying to get services from the city, you may want to be concerned. You can just blow this off, but if you do care, then it's worthy of discussion. The conditions in this section create a significant hazard to the safety of the police. Police don't want to have to deal with drunken, disorderly people in large gatherings, okay? And that's what this constituted here, even though it was the son and daughter of a police officer. Okay, with regard to that, since that's out of the way, and also there's associated California civil codes regarding keeping disorderly houses in section 370 through 374. It regards all that stuff. Public nuisances, maintaining, committing, breach of duty of removal, public nuisances defined. It goes all into the particulars about regarding those civil codes right here. It is right there. Okay. Okay, so I appeared before the city council and I praised them for enacting the code, and I also at that time tried to butter up the Suisun Police Department and try to get them on our side and to realize, hey, we're trying to work with you, you know, trying to make the neighborhood better. You know, can you help us out, folks? Huh? You know? So going on, June of August through 2006, that summer we had 3 loud noise incidents reported. The Suisun Police did respond. At one party, a loud fight starts in the backyard with cursing and screaming, but after several minutes stops. The party adjourned. People still coming and going late at night. Had different people moving into the home, moving out of the home, so there's some subletting going on of some sort. And they'd move in for a week, then move out, then others would move in. So there's cars parked up and down the street. Kind of activity you don't want in a neighborhood, especially if you bought a home. Okay, September through December 2006, 3 more loud noise, late night party complaints. The Suisun Police respond each time. Officer Fong and a female officer come over after substantiating one of these complaints and said, "We have sent them the bill." I assumed that it meant that the residents at next door on El Prado Lane were somehow cited or had a sanction against them for disturbing the peace again. Okay? Records show after having to respond 3 times to each of the complaints, a total of 9 times, warning notices were issued. Okay, these warning cards, you know, a piece of paper. Do you think these people were warned, and do you think they heeded notice of this? No, you can see on one of these, says the officer said I had to respond to this resident 4 times during my shift. Signed Officer R. Erlaw. Badge number looks like 5645. So this is this getting any results, or is this just officers have to drive over, you know, the gas is expensive. Then there's a couple of hours of their time, and they got to do it 4 times, and then there's all the associated paperwork. So now you're talking real money here, folks. This is your money being wasted by the Suisun Police Department. Why? Why can't they tell them, if you don't stop, we are going to arrest you, okay? But they would never, ever do that. For 3 years this went on. Why? Okay, one of the signatories to the lease moves out, and the brother of the police officer's daughter moved in. Okay, the parties continue, and 3 more complaints were phoned in, and police had to respond 3 times. I continued to call the city and to seek resolution and finality to the disturbance. On March the 2nd, 2007, a party started at noontime, and the guests parked their vehicles next to my garbage cans at the end of the driveway, preventing the pickup of the garbage. This was the 2nd week in a row that the garbage couldn't be taken away because of the vehicles of the guests next door obstructing my garbage pickup. And I sent a letter to the Solano Garbage Company about that. Here you go. And I sent a letter and called the city too about that. Okay? Nothing was done. Okay, on March the 7th, 2007, another party, another complaint. Officer Aleo responds and suggests mediation. I agree and prepare this narrative along with supporting documentation to show cause. And I might note that the narrative grew a lot longer ever since that date. The meeting is scheduled for 7:30 in the evening of March the 8th, 2007. And on that date, after agreeing to participate in a neighborhood dispute mediation offered and sponsored by the Suisun Police Department, I showed up at the meeting on time with all my relevant documentation about the continued nuisance activities next door. The 2 signatories of the lease agreement, the son and daughter of the police officer and the state police officer, they all failed to show up at that meeting after they agreed to participate. The Suisun Police Department agreed with me at that time that the failure to show up for the mediation meeting after agreeing to do so showed extreme contempt and a breach of good faith on the part of the son and daughter of the police officer. I informed the Suisun Police Department that I have now caused to appear before a judge and file a request for restraining order at my expense, of course. And I also informed them that I would be contacting the unit, internal affairs of the state police officer in question, and asked that his actions be reviewed. Okay, on March the 22nd, a couple weeks later, another loud party with unknown guests yelling in the backyard at 9 o'clock at night. The police responded at 22:10 hours, that's 10:10 hours, right? And they leave at 10:35 hours. Another party, another warning card, a neighbor adjacent to me on the street behind the house complained, and later she came to my house to tell me how she was verbally abused by these party guests. They cussed her out and called her all kinds of names, so I'll let you figure that out. And then another unknown person moved into the house next door. Okay? So about this time, the police said, well, you know, hey, Rich, why don't you make a citizen's arrest? You have the power. All the citizens have the power to do that. So why don't you go out there and make an arrest? And I said, okay, we'll try this now. Because remember, mediation failed, and the warning cards, and the cops coming over all the time, you know, at great expense to you, the taxpayer, failed. So now it's the Suisun Police Department saying, we got it. You're going to make a citizen's arrest next time that happens. Well, it didn't take too long. And so on April the 2nd, I make a citizen's arrest of the guest outside the house next door at 11:05 p.m. at night for disturbing the peace. He pulled up playing a loud car stereo outside the home with a subwoofer. It was recorded, and it was sent to the unit of the state police officer in question. So the Suisun police officers, Martinez and Rouse, respond and issue a citation to this fellow for disturbing the peace. It was really strange to watch because they didn't ask him to get out of the car. He rolled down his window about this much and he stuck his driver's license through it and all that. And so they slipped him a nice piece of paper, you know, his ticket. There was no one was taken into custody, no one was searched, none of that. Okay, it was all very nice pleasantries. Have a good evening, sir. Well, I checked on this individual that was disturbing the peace that night. Later on, I went to the public records, and look what I found. Here's his, at that time, this was his rap sheet. Since that time, this list has gotten a lot longer, folks, you know? So it leads me to believe, are we really serious? Are the only people held accountable for this kind of activity? Are they just homeowners and people with assets and all that? And while the other indigents and all, they're given a free pass? We'll be looking at that in a few minutes. Okay, let's wrap up video number 2. Get it posted, and we'll start on number 3. Let me see what we got here. Okay, so we decided to go to court and file a restraining order and appear before a judge. And we started contacting the department, the controlling unit for this state police officer, his internal affairs. Okay. And then on on the 3rd of April 2007, decision was made to file for restraining order and hearing against the occupants next door. We're going to request that the constant parties, gatherings and late night events and noise from stereos, car alarms, and people screaming late at night after 10 p.m. be stopped under court order. A concurrent decision was made to contact Internal Affairs. Okay, so on April the 15th, the folks next door disturbed the peace again by playing loud music late at night, and the police were called at 12:30 a.m. and 03:30 hours a.m. Police responding are shown the effect restraining order, but nothing is done, even though the police openly discuss witnessing the noise in front of me. So at 3:30 in the morning, they're out there with the noise blaring in the background saying, show us where on the restraining order it says loud music late at night. Okay? Does this pass a common sense test or a smell test? No, it doesn't. Because I already figured they would pull that stunt, because now I'm beginning to suspect what the Suisun Police are up to. So on that restraining order, not only did I show them where on here that it showed the disturbing late at night, but I also reminded them about PC code 415, disturbing the peace. Remember that? Okay, so it's beginning to really look bad. And later, Officer Eric Vera from the Suisun Police Department arrives offering, again, a mediation meeting. We already tried that, Officer Vera, remember? And remember how they didn't show up? And you did nothing about that either? So this is really beginning to look bad, okay? Something bad is going on here. Somebody's connected. They're not playing by the rules, okay? Let's take a break and we'll start up video 3.